David Karle,
Yes. Hi.
what's happening, brother?
I, I mean, as always, thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing this.
Man, I think I think anybody gets to sit down and have a conversation with you for an hour is privileged because we all chase you around the shows and we don't get to nail you down. So you got a Starbucks in one hand and you're jet in the other direction, and this is intimate time.
Well, that's too kind of you. I am really looking forward to the shows that are coming up, and seeing you, seeing everybody, and having a great time. They're coming up quickly. The WFR event is basically 4 weeks away, and then WFCT's about 7 weeks away. So coming up quick.
Yeah, it's good. It's gonna be action packed for a solid. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. That's for sure. We're gonna have a moments. It's gonna be basically like following each other around the country. You know what I mean? So that's gonna be a good time.
I saw the
really good time
on the map of WFCT. Is CoolVu also at WFR?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah, we are. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, actually, we're right next to you at WFR. I kind of strategically planned that so I could throw stuff at you the whole time we're there.
Very well.
Hey, can I give a shout out? I don't think anybody knows this, but I just found something out really interesting about this show after this is like 170. Is that it? Is that right? Am I correct?
170.
170 podcasts. Thank you, producer Dennis. Nobody even knows who Dennis is, and I'm going to put him on the map.
Wait. Okay.
Eric has a producer named Dennis that nobody knows, and I think everybody should know that Eric has a producer named Dennis. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I'm a guest in producer Dennis's studio, so he has a me at the moment more than I have a him. But so events are coming up. Do you have anything that you're planning to launch at these events? I know there was a big announcement that we can kind of get into a couple weeks ago. We'll see if that ties into what you're doing at the booth and so on. Love to start there.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously everybody is aware, I would think, unless you've kind of been under a rock, that I was promoted to the National Auto Sales Director. It's my wheelhouse. I love everything about window film. It's just something that that's where I started. So I know the most about it. So
what was your prior position before the promotion?
What's that?
What was your prior position before the promotion?
I was the Eastern director, support director for all the franchises. So with the franchise model, which is all flat glass, I was anyone that was on the East Coast. They were, I had the pleasure of teaching and helping them learn the business. Then we got to a point where it was like we found somebody that was qualified to step into my role and push me back over to automotive. But as the national director.
The franchise launched, the CoolVu franchise model launched about how long ago?
I think it's been 30 months. I think is.
So we're talking obviously 6 months less than 3 years. If we're trying to be really a little under 3 years, and you are one of the core founding team members of the franchise. Yeah.
Correct.
And then a little under 3 years, you and the team have grown the franchise to
111 territories.
So you have 111 territories currently occupied by the CoolVu franchise, and then CoolVu has now promoted you from that position to national director of automotive.
Correct.
Perfect. Now, is part of that initiative to try to have the same growth and momentum, take that momentum and what you were able to accomplish in the flat glass, and now do that in the automotive industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's got to be big picture, right? I think that, there's always a lot of moving pieces when you're dealing with guys like Jeff Franson and Mike Herrera and Bob, the team. There's a lot of intelligence in that room. So there's a lot of moving parts. So keeping up with everything, it seems like it's just really, really fast. But what we managed to kind of really short path. I mean, I think we're right where our expectations were. I mean, but if you're on the outside looking in, you're probably like, wow, what are they doing? What's different? I really think that we just understood value in a different aspect for people. Like, not saying that anyone doesn't understand value, but just trying to teach people that window tinting is an awesome trade. And there's like, how many of us out there know how to window tint, right? Well, there's this whole other side of it called running a business, and understanding P&L sheets and QuickBooks and actually running a business. So we kind of took the whole model was, now that we've been around for a while, the whole model was to take all the things that we know that are really good and then take all of the things that we know that are not working, try to either improve on those or get rid of them, but apply them in this one sector. And I think that's what's caused the massive growth. And now we're ready to apply that to auto as well. So we have definitely some things coming up that like are really, really interesting. And I think by giving me the reins for this whole division and what it is, it speaks a testament to the faith that they have in me, obviously 100%. And I'm thankful for that every day. But I can't wait to see what I'm able to do, because one of the things about me as a person and being involved in all this, I have this motto and I say it all the time: if you're not winning, we're not winning. And how do I help you win? And one of those, we're going to streamline at some point, that same business model into automotive. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, how are you going to make that happen? I mean, it's not really that different if you really think about it at the end of the day, but it'll take coaching. You'll have to have an open mind, obviously, and get out of your safe space of doing what you always do, and then take some guidance from people that have really achieved monumental heights in this industry, right? Like, so you can take so many good pieces from all of those people and all of those companies and all the things they do, and then our franchise model, and then of course, our sister company, which is Window Film Depot, and just take all of that and compress it down into a little ball and say, okay, what makes this work? And yeah, so I'm excited. I got a lot on my mind, obviously. You know what I mean? I got given this whole division, and it's like, whoa, here's your oyster, shuck it. So I'm excited. First time in a long time, I'm actually a little nervous, because I'm kind of probably like you in the aspect when people depend on me. I always want to over deliver. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for what the future holds and what we're going to be able to do. We do have some ideas.
So, okay, Flat Glass model was a franchise model. Is the automotive that you're launching franchise as well?
Not yet, but it will be the first step into making that successful and making that a reality. Like, you have to. I think the automotive takes a little bit more of a cautionary approach, right? Like, we've seen other people do it. We've seen other companies do it, and there are some that are successful, and there's some that, they have their ups and downs. So what we did is we decided to kind of take a step back and like watch those other companies operate and try to see what was working and what wasn't working, and wishing them all success, obviously, because at the end of the day, I can't say this enough, we're all in the same pond together. If everybody's winning, we're all going to win. So it's really important to.
And pond, I feel like, is a little. I'm just kidding.
I understand.
So speaking of that, that's a great point that you bring up. We are all in the same pond, lake, river, ocean together. We're all in the same environment together, industry. And the last few years, we've seen, I think, the competition grow amongst the manufacturers, because people are discussing it online. People can go online and research. Like, when I'm talking people, window film dealers, there's more opportunities for dealers to connect with other dealers to discuss what's working for them, and and so on. And there's more ability for manufacturers to connect with and potential dealers online. So with that said, I feel like manufacturers have, for the most part, all to some degree stepped it up, whether it be stepping it up in their digital presence, their marketing, their merch, their film offerings, growing their lines, trying to grow their dealer base, like through community. And, there's kind of see it all. What are some things that you feel that you either see that, hey, I see this in the industry already, and it's something that I think is going to be integral to the CoolVu Automotive division, And what are some things that you say, I don't really see enough of this, and these are going to be strong points if you're part of the CoolVu Automotive?
Right. So, okay, great question. So I kind of want to go back 4 years ago to kind of start what happened in this, because this kind of like leads you to the watch to watch and learn the progression of this. And me and you spoke about this kind of in touching before in offline situations. 4 years ago, I'm not afraid to say this, the manufacturers had all the power. And 1000% did. 4 to 5 years ago, they had all the power. So because they would, I mean, it wasn't intentional. It's just business. At the end of the day, it is what it is. There was a lot of squaring off against each other, right? Like dealer versus dealer. Well, we worked, you tirelessly worked. There's a lot of us did, and everybody wanted to be a part of something. So we broke down those walls and made everybody say, hey, let's all get together. Let's, we're not really, it's not one against one here. It's all us. So by watching the unity of all of us getting together, it then of course kind of forced the manufacturers to follow that same suit, right? So what did that do? Well, that they realized at that point that we had to, I'm a part of that, I guess, I'm a part of a manufacturer, right? We had to cater to those needs of those people in the way that they needed to be cared for and continue that. So it's caused this really massive ripple of get in the train and or choose not to, which is to me is catastrophic if you're a manufacturer anyway at this point, and enjoy the tension isn't what it used to be. So what we learned from that period going forward as manufacturers, everybody's like, everybody needs to be a part of the family. Like we want everyone in the family. We want everyone to have a good time. I mean, we want everyone to feel appreciated. We want everybody to feel this way. Honestly, if you've been at 10 or 20 years, you don't have to agree, comment, anything. You can just go. It didn't used to be that way. It was not that way. It wasn't at all. It was hard nosed, but you came along. There were certain things that happened within the industry, certain competitions, certain things that really start, like tenor battles was a huge one to me that really caused a unity situation. And it kind of just helped everybody like get together in the same room and talk through all these differences. So what we're learning from that is now that we have everyone's attention for unity, and now they're open-minded, and the manufacturers like us have to be very humble, and we should be humble because you don't have to buy from us. That's the new world we live in, right? Like if you don't have to, you have options now. You really do have options. So we've had to learn to be humble, but that also comes along with everybody now having an open mind. So everybody now is moving into the next phase that I believe was going to happen. And that was like, who is going to teach me the most on how to run a business? That's going to be the next value play, in my opinion. Like who is going to be the next manufacturer to really step up? And I'm not giving away a secret here. It's nothing. It's not it's not like it's recreating the wheel or anything, but that is going to be my approach as the national director, is to 1000% get on board with everyone and help them learn how to read a P&L sheet, how to run a business, how to manage inventory, how to become a businessman instead of just a window tinner. Like it's time to move into the next phase for all of the people that had a very open mind and became receptive to the first movement that we just had. So that's really what my approach is going to be. It's different. It's going to teach people how to cut overhead, cost. I mean, the biggest problem, we spoke about this a couple of times, me and you, essentially, the biggest strain on all window tinters is their overhead. Sure. And we've got to teach guys how to combat it, how to, learn how to either adjust to it and do the right things business-wise to have their self. So in December, they're, acting like they're okay, but they're not okay. Like we need our dealers healthy. So as a manufacturer, that's where I think the responsibility starts to step in. It's like, how can I help you understand the landscape, the 35,000 foot view? What is your projection? And if I call you, can you go to your P&L sheet and tell me what your labor percentage is?
So if we're looking ahead, let's say a year or 2 years, and let's assume there's 50 or so, could be more, CoolVu Automotive, CoolVu Auto Spa locations. Is an auto spa?
Correct.
Okay. So let's say there's 50 or so CoolVu Auto Spas, and then we're in the future now. Okay, so future David, future Eric, and I'm saying to future David, congratulations on the success of building this network of dealers. Tell me a bit about the dealers that are operating. Not the best and not the worst. What does the middle look like? What do their businesses look like? Is it owner operated? Is it, how many staff typically is in there? What kind of square footage? Like, what do you kind of vision for a CoolVu Auto Spa to look like? Is it a giant warehouse? Is it a storefront on a busy road? Is it a van? Is it everything? What are you imagining?
All right. So my idea is, I mean, it could have one or two guys, three guys. I mean, I'd love to see someone grow to like a TNT in Hawaii and have 17 installers. But that's not really what. First you have to really ask yourself and define what is success. You know, does the guy want to go to work every single day? What does he have at the end of the day? And then what does he have at the end of his career? So you have to define success first. And for me, what I believe in my heart is it can be an owner operator that's totally focused on understanding what he needs to make to support his family. But here's the big one that I repeated to people I know all the time and dealers that talk to me all the time is like, how much do you have in a 401k? How much do you have in a Roth IRA? How much life insurance do you have? You know, these are the things that, like, as I get onto the later side of my career, that I wish I would have understood more as when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like that is a huge missing chunk of what we are. So the ideal dealer for me is someone who has not 3 years under control, but 3 years, they're 15 years later, they have that under control. That's my idea of a successful dealer. When they can look at me and say, I have a business that is tied into a certain brand that has certain things in place that are like just like a franchise model, and we'll jump into some of that value in a second, but they have something at the end of their career. Not only do they have money in the bank into some sort of retirement. And I mean, look, I know this is the boring stuff, but guys need to hear this. You know what I mean? There's so many guys out now right now that are in the window tint industry. If something happened to them tomorrow, their family is in trouble. Their whole life is in trouble.
But like, okay, so when that's the case, I think a lot of times, you know, the person who says, I really don't have much savings in the bank, the winters are extremely tough. You know, the answer isn't saving necessarily a lot of times, because I feel like they're potentially just getting by. Like, it's not about like, hey, you need to put some aside. It's about how do you have enough to have some to be able to put aside. So that kind of goes back to what you were saying as far as knowing your numbers and feeling more in control of the business. Yeah.
Absolutely. When you say, I mean, yeah, here's a hard state. And I say this to everyone listening and anyone that's ever going to listen to this. If you don't know how much you're spending, you don't know how much you're making. I mean,
right. And there's a saying within like call centers that I had heard very early on in my life, which is, you got to know it to grow it. So like, you can't grow your daily sales. You can't grow your hourly sales. You can't grow anything if you don't know how much it is. But once you simply know yesterday's sales was this, today's sales is this, that's the very beginning to going, I can make it grow, because you know what they are. And the other thing that really just hit home early on in life that served me well is the concept that numbers don't lie, and your like emotions and your perceptions almost always wrong. It's almost always wrong. It's just unbelievable. But like when you think things are slow, you'd be surprised. When you think like it's just so, there's no riding by feeling. You have to know the numbers of your day, your week, your month, not to a hyper point to where you don't like your life anymore or your business, but just the core numbers that get you by and are very important, like profit margins, like to get their labor cost, film cost, and so on.
I would just say that your goal can't be how much you can stick in your pocket every single day. Your goal has to understand of, you know, it's the age old question in our industry.
I like that goal, but that can't be your only goal. But your goal could be to increase the amount of money that goes in your pocket, let's say every quarter, or every month, or every week, or whatever, incrementally, but that's going to be a product of other goals, right? Like it can't be your only goal, because
No.
you know.
Yeah, you're gonna slam into a wall at some point, because if you break your leg, something goes wrong, something goes sideways, you don't have a contingency plan at all. There's nothing in place.
So tell me this, what do you think the number one thing, like if we're talking about a shop, and let's just say we're talking about people who say, I don't have insurance, I don't have much money to put aside, I make a lot of money in the summer, it gets eaten up in the winter, and then we start the spring again, and I'm in that position. What are the number one and number two things you think that are the reason they're doing that? When you say they don't know their numbers, how do we get there? If that's number one, let's say, like, what is the action that gets them from there to?
Absolutely. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Because this is
And I want to know the number two thing. If number one is just knowing their numbers, what's number two? Because
so here's the concept, right? If you go work at a job, you get a paycheck that either meets your budget to supply for your family, or it doesn't. So
Sure.
Most guys, instead of using their tent shop to give themselves a paycheck every week and leave the rest in the company to guarantee that paycheck is there throughout the winter, they don't do that. That would be the number one thing to start all of things. I would challenge every person to go and say, I need to make X amount of dollars per week or month, whatever you want to figure it out, to survive and to feed my family, and have a little bit left over to go to Dairy Queen, and the rest needs to go into the company. So if you would do that after 3 months, 6 months, and then you go through your slow season, but you've got $30,000-$40,000 in the bank, but you're still cutting yourself that same paycheck, and then you get to the other side and the banks and your business still has $10,000-$15,000 in the bank, then it all clicks. That's when it all starts to make sense. You're like, okay, my business is supposed to feed me. I'm not supposed to harvest it. And that's the difference. You're building a company to feed you. Instead, you accidentally take advantage of it and harvest it. Hey, look, we're all guilty of it, man. I was in my 20s at one time too. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like live on the hog. Go do this. Go do that. Go do this. But there's no other job on the planet, as we know, that's how it works. I mean, you get a paycheck. You get paid X amount of dollars an hour. You get a salary. You get this. If you're not executing your company in that same strict, and I'm not saying it's easy because it's not, but if you're not pressing that as a strict diet, there's two things. You're going to end up chunky like me, or you're going to end up, you're going to end up in the wintertime scratching your heads, really stressed out with your back up against the wall, as you do every year, because you're not disciplined enough to do that. And it's hard. It's a light switch. It's a whole change of, train of thought. You have to be, it takes to have someone to lean on to talk you through this every day to help you get to that point. And I think that's kind of like one of the reasons I've expressed this to, CoolVu and what we are. And that's probably why they put me in this position, because I feel that there's going to be people that'll totally disagree with what I'm saying, but then there's going to be I'm sure there's a few that would say tomorrow would call me and say, okay, how do I start this? Because last winter, I almost lost my truck, but in the summertime, I was going out to, whatever, you just name a restaurant, it don't matter, every single night, you know what I mean? Instead of, financial planning and doing the things necessary. So that's something that I look forward to. Because when a guy calls me up in the wintertime and his family's fed and he feels good about himself, and you help do that, that's another one of those situations, just like what I'm talking about, where we sit in the corner and kind of smile, and it gives us some sort of feeling in here that, we've done right by somebody. So that's my motive. That's where I'm at as a person.
And number two, what would you say? I think that was a great one, by the way, not to move on too quickly.
No.
I definitely think like you said, you have to know how much you need every month to get by, what you pay your bills and so on. And then from there, you have to start splitting up whatever's left over, either 100% for the company, or you could say 33% for long-term saving, 33% for operational. I'll take 33%, and you do that every quarter. And that way, you kind of have long-term, operational, and you have some money in your pocket and so on. But
and to add one thing, and nothing says at the end of that calendar year that you don't cut yourself a nice little bonus to take your family on an amazing vacation. But
Right. But if you also want to hire somebody for the next year, that money's there, and you're not saying, how could I afford to hire somebody?
Right. You're not living hand to mouth so much, right? It's a more projected. You have a projected forecast of finances.
The other projection that I think I feel like a good one to do, especially as time gets closer to the winter, is really like, just keeping in mind those slow months, keeping in mind those busy months, and not trying to satisfy the busy months and then figure out the slow months later, trying to, operate in a way that's brings you some consistency, peace, and forecast of the future. Because, you could hypothetically go into a March, April, May, real confident, like feeling like this is my year. I'm finally there. We're growing. The business is banging down the door. And June, July, you're taking in as many people as you can get, and you're paying them, and you're saying, just let's get the work done. And then come November, December, that overhead could set you backwards so far to where you maybe didn't need, so just looking at the whole year, it's like a school teacher. School teachers, they don't work during the summer, but you have the summer, like you're not.
Yeah. I mean, so my lovely wife, she's in the school system, so she gets, I get it. So I would say, with what you're saying, number two.
What's number two?
Huh?
People you feel are kind of maybe doing wrong, that kind of leading them astray into that position you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would, number two for me is probably truly understand. Well, I mean, there's a lot on this list, Eric. It's kind of tough, you know what I mean? And they kind of start to fall in suit, because if you get one understood, then the next one kind of follows in suit, and you understand that. So if you get your payroll and yourself understood, then you start understanding what you make, and then you start understanding what your overhead is in your company, and then you start being able to be disciplined about that. Like, I mean, how cool would it be to? I say this because I just get optimistic about things, but imagine if you were in a situation where that your shop overhead is $1,000 a month. I mean, that's cheap, but whatever. There's guys out there with that. Imagine if they could walk in on January 1st and cut a $12,000 check and never have to worry about their overhead for the entire year. I mean, that's projecting. That's something that some companies are able to do, and they do that on a regular basis, so they don't have to feel the up and down burden of what it is, and then they're able to just completely put that money back. Look, there's a million things that fall in suit into that situation, and then guys who have really high overhead, I would say that labor burden becomes your biggest enemy in the process of growth. So if you were to talk about number two, I think it would be truly understanding what labor burden really means. I get a lot of these tenders, and you hear it all the time, that they should be getting 30, 35% and blah, blah. I mean, yeah, I wanted to make that. I wanted to make 80%, but it doesn't make sense in a business model. Every business model that you just about dial up, if your labor goes above 30%, you're redlining somewhere. You're having a problem somewhere. I mean, that's just, I've looked across the board at multiple different types of business ventures, and it just seems like if your labor gets above 30%, but the first thing I got to do is help people understand what that means at 30%. What does your labor burden at 30% actually mean? So it's like, there's a lot of, we're moving into the business side of it now, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to see some real diamonds come out of the rough in this. That's how I feel, because we watched it in the first half with the unity of everything, and then now we get to watch people progress, and their families are going to be, I don't know, man. it's just the honesty factor. You know me, that when I tell you honestly that I want people to win, like, I believe that that's my concept, and that's just who I am as a person. So helping people help their families, there's nothing like that. And you were talking about in the summertime, catering to the summertime. A lot of people in the wintertime, that God, this conversation probably had how many times on your podcast. Don't sit in your shop and wait for the damn phone to ring, man. You can't have any corn if you don't plant any seeds. You can't just sit there and expect things to happen. I know you're dealing from seasonal depression. Why do I even know what that is? Because I'm a window tinner. You know what I mean? It's not like it's foreign to me.
Going back to, you were talking about labor a second ago.
Yeah.
Labor costs. I'm curious, as far as labor training goes, we could, like, when it comes to the flat glass franchise, is there, and I ask about the flat glass franchise because obviously the CoolVu Auto Spa is still something coming up. It's something launching. So I'm curious with the franchise, how you all potentially help, if you do, with franchises that need help adding labor to their crew, right? Because obviously that's a big one for auto and flat is hiring and so on. Do you assist with that? Or do you assist with the hiring? Do you assist with the training? Do you assist with both? Do you do any placements?
Yeah, so obviously we're always on the hook to help them train somebody. I mean, we send people out on jobs for franchisees all the time so they can get better and further training. No problem. Do it constantly. If they need one-on-one, I've had them come to my store and work with me, so.
You send people from, like, CoolVu sends people to the franchises to go out and train in the field for sales and installs. Is that what you said?
Well, see, how we do that is really interesting, right? Like, let's just say I'm not CoolVu franchise. Let's talk about it like I'm an installer, right? And I know you're an installer, and I'm me, and I'm with CoolVu, and I know this company, and whatever city has a job, right? And their guys aren't 1,000% up to speed. What I like to do is have that company, that CoolVu location, hire this guy over here with a contingency to come in, do the job, get paid square footage wise, make money, and help train their staff in the same aspect. And what I've learned is a lot of guys are willing to 1,000% do that. And then a lot of times what happens is that guy ends up liking working for the people in the franchise because it's not the same mindset. They end up using him as a sub constantly. So then that guy's working for that CoolVu franchise in that area. And then another franchise person talks to them because franchise people talk, and they're like, hey, I use this guy. Okay, I'll call him. And then next thing you know, he's hiding down the highway and heading over to that franchise and doing that install for him for that company as well as they, build up their own labor force. So yeah, we definitely help facilitate making sure that they have enough labor. And then our labor force is massive. You know what I mean? If it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 square foot or 500,000 square feet, we know how to pull the resources together to get it done. So it's a benefit, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
so we keep, and here's the biggest thing I would love to tell you about this because this is crazy. I have learned more from franchisees buying these franchises in the last, 30 months than I wouldn't say in my whole career, but I would say to really polish and bring some things to light, because the people that are coming into the industry to buy these franchise territories, they're not window tinters. I'm saying nothing's wrong with that, but they're coming from the medical field. They're coming from engineer. I mean, most of them had degrees. We've got one guy who's an ex-officer in the Navy. These people, they already operate within systems. They've come from big corporations. One of the big guys this is crazy. One of the co-founders of Caliber Collision bought a franchise from us. These people understand books, numbers, and they run it the right way. So I had no choice but to adapt to their processes and the way that they think and the way they speak. So now that I've learned that from them, now I can obviously pass it down. But it's been extremely rewarding working with people that are, numbers, no emotion. You know what I mean? Numbers. Not saying that emotion doesn't need to be there, because it does, but at the end of the day, they're running a business the correct way. You know what I mean? They're paying themselves. They use the business and that's why that whole philosophy I was telling you about came into effect. Because everybody that I know has bought a franchise that comes from another industry uses it as kind of like the mothership, and the mothership pays them. They feed the mothership, and the mothership cuts them a paycheck. It's just taught me a lot about discipline and a lot of things that I just didn't see before.
Okay, understood. Do you think? I wonder how many tinters that are listening to this right now are thinking, like when you said it made me think you mentioned like somebody coming from the medical or from the collision industry and being more about numbers, and then you obviously have a large portion of the industry that views themselves as like like artists, like their number one thing is not the numbers. It's making sure that that film goes on there as clean as possible. The edges are as clean as possible. And truly, it's not about the numbers. And, you know, the numbers work themselves out at the end, which is fine when they do. But you wonder how that battle takes place or how that evolves in the market in general, you know, because it works itself out, right? Either the medical professional becomes a better installer, or they already are and they have a crew of installers, and the numbers and the install kind of maybe can, you know, do better than somebody who's just focused on install, you know. It kind of is one of those things like where you could say, you just, you know, people go in Facebook groups and say, how do I get more business? And some of the comments will always be, just do good work and it works itself out. But the reality is that is one way, but another way is through advertising and through marketing and so on. And can't really say that can't do one without the other necessarily. You can't market without the install, but you can't just install without the marketing most of the time, I think, in today's at least if you're getting started. I guess you could.
No.
You never know how the ball rolls, but if you're trying to get out there aggressively. So back to differences of automotive. I want to kind of bring it back to, you know, what I've heard you say a lot of is the business development, the business side of things are going to be much improved. So if I'm sitting in front of you, which I kind of am, and you are pitching me, do you want to pitch me? I'm curious. No. I know you don't like the idea of pitching. Who the fuck would say yes to, do you want to pitch me? But
yeah.
Like, what is, if you're bringing it back to like, you know, the overall, like, hey, again, tell me why I would be interested. It's business support. It's digging deeper into the numbers. It's implementing systems. It's support where I just want to bring it back into, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If I was pitching you, the first thing I would ever ask you is like, I'm not going to say who he was. He's a great kid. He called me the other day, and I said the same thing to him. And I asked him basically everything I just said live, which is the formula basically for success. Is I asked them the same thing. I mean, the question is do you?
Hold on, let me stop you real quick. And the reason I asked this way, I just want to give it context, because it's not like I'm sitting here like, just pitch me, but like I want to give it context because, you know, as I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed, you see a lot of marketing companies, especially like, you know, it's very easy to target tinters because we're a small knit community. So like I get these ads constantly, like the same ads. And it's like, are you stuck at $250,000? Do you want to grow above that? Like, contact me. And then there's the other one, like, you know, do you not like the other marketing guy? Are you sick of him telling you to grow your business? Well, I can tell you how to grow your business. Just click this link and sign up. And like, there's so many different potential angles that somebody's coming and saying like, I can help grow your business. However, CoolVu is not just saying I can grow your business. For context, you've opened over 100 territories in the last 3 years in flat glass, which has never been done by any other company or any other group or any other individual company, like private company, manufacturer, nothing. So kind of, I know what differentiates you, but I want to hear more. I think everybody should kind of hear more about what differentiates you, because it doesn't help if I know.
I mean, at first it's like, well, I mean, I have to say this because this is important. With everybody that I've ever done business with, I have a different relationship with. You have to take the time to get to know the person first. I mean, that's just the truth of it, right? Like, you may struggle in this area, but not struggle in that area, and then the dealer down the next town over that I'm dealing with struggles in the area that you're not struggling in. You know what I mean? So the first step is getting to know each person's pain point. At the end of the day, it's probably more going to be, am I going to be able to get you off the couch? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I hope that kind of resonates a little bit. Like, you're going to have to get your knees spun up. You're going to have to learn to ride a bicycle and fall and get back on it. It's not going to be how many
growth. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. You're going to have to.
It's going to be. because our pride is in the way, right? Like the way that we do things. I mean, you're all of a sudden you're a leader in this business and you own it and you pay the electric. Every decision is made based upon you. And then here comes along this guy that's like, yeah, you kind of been doing all this kind of, you've been making it work, but is it right? You know what I mean? It's like your Uncle Cecil down the road that does brakes better for $40. I mean, it's like you can get by like that, but there's going to be you're going to hit a ceiling in that, and that ceiling is where the real pain starts. So I would just say that the personal relationship that me and Bob and the team have really took to learn people has helped them progress, because we find their weak points. Look, the smartest person in the world finds out what they're weak at, not what they're good at. And then they find someone to advise them on those weak areas. And then those weak areas, that's where they grow the most, because those are the things that need to be shored up or straightened out. So I think that's a concept that I think gets lost. Like everybody wants to, just sell film. Well, I'm here to tell anybody today, like, don't buy CoolVu film from me. You don't have to. But if you call me tomorrow and ask me a question about finances and how to run your business, or if this, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that call, and I'm going to help you for hopefully one day for the possibility of earning your business. But even if not, it's just as being a student of this industry, growing up in it from 14 years old as a homeless child now, you know what I mean? As a kid who had nothing, 8th grade dropout, to an industry that gave me all these opportunities, I always feel like I owe it to somebody if I can help them. So that's a personal thing with me within. So that's my philosophy. So I really want people to know that, like, that same concept of how we treat people is on the entire brand. I mean, Jeff and the whole team and everybody wants to help everyone succeed. And that's infectious. It's important. It's all the way back to our back office people. I will say it, like, it's not one person that can do this. You know what I mean? This is not a one person effort in any of this.
Right.
It's collaboration. And is it always, and when we make the biggest strides is when it's the most uncomfortable. It's the harder we hit the pavement and skin our whole head and side of our neck and have to get back up and get on the bike. That's when you make the most progression. And if you can get someone in a business to that point to where they realize that they need to fall off the bike to stop and reset and get back on to go even further, that's when they start to win. That to me, that's the difference. I mean, that's the difference altogether. Like, do you really care about what happens to the people that depend on you, or are your customers? You know what I mean? That's, again, you don't even have to be my customers. I have people that call me all the time that are my customers, and I don't care about that. I have to tap into the concept of who I am as a person, individual first. And it's so important to help people get over those personal hurdles. And that way they can grow and progress to the next level. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow further than you'll let yourself. People that start to understand business on a higher level, it's like little light switches that go off. This is what I've learned. And the most successful people I've ever seen, they write everything down. They don't just walk around aimlessly all the time. If they get an idea, they write it down. Or if they have something, they stop and they write it down. We're moving into that phase to where we need to help people. I mean, you have a guy like Gary Vee come into WFCT, right? Like, I mean, what is the reason for that if we're not trying to teach people how to be motivated, be better business just all around a better entrepreneur? Why else would you bring him there? You know what I mean? So you have you align with me, right? You align exactly what I'm saying right now. So we now have a responsibility, now that we've gotten through the barbed wire fences and we've got everybody combined. Now it's like, hey guys, check this out. This is the difference. And I'm not saying I'm any different than any other company. I'm just saying this is going to be my approach. And if somebody thinks that that's cool and like wants to be a part of that, and is like, hey, I can relate to that, call me. Get on board with me. You know what I mean? And let's try to win, and give me some pushback. I want to know your thoughts, because I want to learn more from you than you're going to learn from me at the end of the day. That's usually how this works out.
Wait, hold on. That's not a good way to end that.
No, it is.
Then they're going to learn from you, but they're going to.
Yeah, no, I'm serious, man. I have learned the craziest things by, that I'm telling the truth. You know what I mean? Somebody will come along and have been doing something completely different than anything you've ever seen. And then you look at it and go, well, that's way easier. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I have learned so much from everyone else. I think you have to be a good student before you can be a good instructor, right? Like, you have to be able to learn.
You have to be a good listener no matter what, right? Because to teach, you have to listen. To learn, you have to listen. So never hurts to listen. Always helps. WFR,
100%.
you mentioned calling you, but if they want to see the David Karle in person, they can see you at the WFR event and the WFCT event, or they could see you at both.
Or they can drive to town and we'll go to lunch.
They could drive there. They could do anything, but WFR, what do you planned? WFCT, what do you plan? Anything that you want to discuss here? Is it a good opportunity for somebody who's interested to kind of?
Yeah, I'm very approachable. I mean, those shows, the way I've designed them is to make them like, come meet me,
And
come hang out.
You'll be at the Tint Wiz booth, right?
Yeah, right next door. I just come hang out, come talk to me, come test my pulse, see if the genuine, if you just come test me, you know what I'm saying? Just come over and let's have a conversation, and you can feel it out for yourself, whether it's genuine or not, or if it makes sense. Look, at the end of the day, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense for you.
I love it.
I'm
imagining a dunk tank, and then people test you, and if they're happy, and you're good. If they're not,
I'll tell you what, if you get it and bring it, I'll get in it.
Let's 2025.
I'll do it. I'm down. I'll wear a yellow banana hammock and everything. No, I'm not doing that part. I'm not doing that part.
Do you like, what do you see? Maybe you take the CoolVu hat off for a second. Don't literally, but what do you feel coming into these events? Like, if you've been going for many years, you've been to all of them. If you're a tinter considering whether to come or not, if you're a tinter that's coming and wondering how they can best get the value out of it, whether that value be meeting people, having fun, networking, or growing their business, and maybe pivotal things, like what do you see happening? Is it to compete? Do you go to compete? Do you go to have fun? Do you go to network and learn more about your business? Some of those, all of those. What's your opinion?
Well, I had a Instagram reel that kind of went viral recently with the guys from Green Valley, and it was window tinting is a sickness.
Miller. Josh and Ricky Miller from Green Valley the films out of Henderson, Nevada, and podcast.
It's Las Vegas.
It's Henderson.
But yeah.
But we're just talking about two legends in the industry, and now please keep going.
Yeah, so what we do every day it's a sickness. It's an addiction. I said it on that thing. You probably saw it too. You know what I mean? It's like for me, it's never really about the competitions, man. I'm not saying I don't think they're cool, but they don't matter to me at all. They don't matter. It's about growing older, which sucks, but it's just is what it is. But it's about seeing people that have this same 1000% interest that I do at heart. That's what going to the events is for me. Getting to see you or Dave, or making new relationships with people that just totally align. Me and Carlos, like all of us look at how tight we've all become, you know what I mean? Like as friends, and just, if any of us need somebody to talk to or to call, we can just call each other. That's what we're there for. It's a show, man. The show is the show. That's the reason we go. But the reason we stay and the reason we come back is because of the people. Because we all really, truly, at the end of the day, care about each other. And I can't tell you the peace of mind in the last 4 years of going to shows now has given me that. I mean, before it was just going to a trade show. Ooh, I'm going to get a free chiseler. You know what I mean? Like, throw it in my bag.
You mean a Whistler?
Yeah. Sorry. Trademark. Little Whistler. And now it's about like just the camaraderie of.
You feel supported, right? You feel supported in the true sense of the word support.
You don't want to leave, man. It's like it's crazy. It could be 11 o'clock at night for some reason, and you just don't want to leave. You feel like you're going to miss something. there's very few things in life that make you feel like that. You know what I mean? So being aligned with a whole bunch of people that feel the same way, I mean, I don't know how it gets any better. So that's why I go to the shows. That's why I'm always excited to go to the shows. I want to be the first one to get there, and I want to be the last one to leave. I mean, you do the same thing. I've watched you a million times. You just pace around 100 miles an hour, but you don't leave. You never leave. If you leave, it's to go get more coffee. That's it. More Starbucks. That's it.
That's true. That's very true. I definitely know what you mean about not missing out and never really wanting to miss an event because you never know what you're going to miss. But it seems like, and it's something Austin said on the WFCT event podcast we did last week. Austin mentioned something that just really struck, because I feel the exact same way, is, you know, once you go to the event, as you're leaving, you can't imagine having not gone. You're like, so glad I came, glad I didn't miss this. So, you know, it is one of those things where if life's in the way, if finances are in the way and so on, I totally get it. But, you know, if you can make it happen, once you leave, you typically, you know, feel good about the decision.
You feel like you missed something if you don't go. You do. And I understand. Life does get in the way. But
if there's anybody who hasn't got their tickets yet, we do still have some tickets available for both events. So if you haven't registered a ticket yet for WFCT or WFR and you need a ticket, if you can afford it, just buy it yourself. But if it's like, you know, maybe you want a free ticket, it helps with the expenses or so on, and you haven't bought it yet, just go to our live chat on Tint Wiz, go to support live chat. And if we have any tickets available, like I know we do now, but I'm saying if we still do, they're out there. So, you know, because it can get expensive too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the burden. Those are the people I want to have conversations with, because I want to help them to where that doesn't become a burden for them to come and be able to close their shop down for 2 or 3 days and then go enjoy it and live life. We should not be that chained to the floor at our shop. You should not. You should not.
Do you go to the educational seminars at the WFCT?
I will sometimes. I will walk in, and if it's a topic that, I mean, I love to listen and learn. Sometimes I would say I'm 50-50. It depends on what I have going on with my own booth or what I have to do. You know what I mean?
Are you excited to listen to Gary Vee? Not so much. Like, what's the real deal here?
For me, I think, well, for me, I'm going to make myself irrelevant from that. I think a lot of people will enjoy hearing him and really be inspired by the things he has to say. And I think that that's an opportunity to go see him for just being there. I think you would be crazy not to walk in there and at least not, you know, get 15 to 20 minutes of what that guy chews on, because he spews animosity. I mean, he spews optimism. He's a good human being. You know, he makes you walk away feeling better about it. He gives you hope.
And it's, you know, like I think a lot of the ways people interact with this content is often through clips, right? You see clips on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and they're not just inspirational, they're actionable too, but you're saying, they are inspirational. A lot of them are, you know, kind of towards the, you know, the mental part of business. Some of them are actionable and around the social media part of business. But it's all extremely valuable. And what I found value in beyond those clips is when you look up keynotes, because he does a lot of keynote speaking at different events, and he has over the years, more in the past than I really see now, but he posts all those keynotes on YouTube, and those keynotes, you know, you're getting him kind of off the cuff, right? It's not just in his daily work environment, but he's going up on stage, and he you never know what you're going to get. Like, you know, it's going to be relevant, it's going to be current, but it's not some like pre-planned pitch. So what I'm extremely excited about is not only the chance to see him in person, because I'm actually going to see him at VCon in a few weeks as well, which I'm very excited. So it's not just the in person, but I'm like really, really thrilled to see what he says as it relates to the window film industry, because this isn't a guy who doesn't know who he's speaking to, and it's not a lazy guy. So like, hearing him speak directly to the window film industry, I just feel like, you know, huge appreciation to the WFCT to making this happen, because it's like, I don't know, I can't even believe it. In a way, I can't believe it that they went back Gary V. Like, that's fucking great. So
yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that would do a deep dive and definitely come with information so he understands what he's speaking to. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that doesn't prepare himself. And
I mean,
that all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say but this all leads back to everything I just said. He disciplines himself. It all starts with discipline. It all starts with being prepared for a situation. Everything I've ever seen about him do, like his entrepreneurship and all this stuff, is all started with being very disciplined. So that's somebody that I recommend that everyone probably needs to go in and sit down and listen to.
And some of the proof, another example of you brought up Ricky and Josh Miller a couple of minutes ago. I mean, these are guys who, well, at least Josh has invested a lot of money and time into, the Gary V universe, whether it be through NFTs and meetings that came with the NFTs, where he had, direct video meetings with Gary and so on. And like, you see the product of it. So like, for some people who might experience Gary on more of a surface level, and just feel like maybe he's motivational. He is motivational. It's not where it ends, though. And I implore you to get his most recent book, because it's not just a book to read. When you open it and you look through it, it's Day Trading Attention. And when you look through it, you realize it's almost a manual. It's not a story. It's more of a current guide to getting attention and how to run your social media. So for anybody who's saying, I wish I could do better with my social media, start by reading the book, and read the book ahead of WFCT, because it's only going to bring more like context to the things he says, as well as potentially brings up the opportunity for you to ask him a question that you may only have once you read it. So anyway,
turn on light switches. Be disciplined about learning about him to help you become disciplined. Yeah, no, I think that we're heading down we've seen it happen. The social media path is just absolutely nuts, and it's only going to grow. I don't know how it keeps growing, but it's only going to keep growing. That platform is crazy, and utilizing it correctly is so important.
Yeah,
I can't even. That we all know that. That doesn't even have to really be said.
Right. The world is operating in the world of social media.
Yes, it is. When we were growing up, Eric, everybody wanted to be doctors and lawyers. Now the number one seeked after thing is influencer.
Influencer, yeah.
Yeah, that's shocking. I wish I could get window tinting on that list, but that's probably not going to happen.
I mean, why would you want the number one thing to be window tinters?
Just because what it's done for me. I mean, I know you're laughing at it, but I'm honestly telling the truth.
No, because like, I think part of the allure is that it is a close-knit, somewhat small community of specialists. You know what I mean? So when you think about like everybody doing it, that's kind of like, you made me think of like, like when you hear like, I don't know, it would like take away a bit of the magic that maybe is in there. But I get what you're saying as far as the path that it helped you on.
I will say, I want to ask you like kind of a question, because you're in California. So in order to install window film in California, you're supposed to have a glazing license, right? Contractor's license, correct? Right?
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get to a point where this trade ever is a course at a university.
Well, I know what we're seeing now, obviously, is a lot more training schools popping up. Again, bringing up Ricky and Josh Miller, legends of green. They are setting up a flat glass academy in their studio, and I haven't had a chance to talk to them too much about it, but I'm curious how much of that is realistically a financial, like a profit thing where they're saying like, hey, this could be a great profit center for a business. How much of it is a way to grow their labor staff, and then how much of it is simply a passion project because it's now been an industry that goes on 2 generations and many tree branches in their family, and then extended family, which would be people that are on their team that are not blood related but essentially become extended family. So you see, they're not the only ones. How many training classes are popping up? So you wonder if that's kind of that bridge and that first step, and of course how that goes before it becomes a more institutionalized course.
I mean, to want to teach, it can't just be monetary. There has to be some emotion that you have to want to do it as well. Teaching is, you have to have a passion for sharing what you know with others. So no, me and those guys clicked instantly. They're great guys. I liked them a lot, and that was the first time Tinder battles, the past Tinder battles, the first time I really had a chance to really have good conversations with them. And those guys they're solid. They're another solid addition to the family, for sure.
CoolVu Auto Spa. What are Robert Foster said they run our city along with you, or with Robert. I mean, but looking forward to seeing him at WFCT and hopefully WFR. What do you see at CoolVu Auto Spa product lines? Is that something you can talk about? Is it window film? Is it auto spa, meaning PPF, ceramic coating, and window film? Those three. Is it going to be more than that, less than that?
Yeah. So obviously you have to be careful. You know what I mean? You want to be able to grow healthy. You just want healthy nutrition as you grow. It's definitely going to be, as of right now, obviously all our automotive line films, windshield protection. We will eventually, it's all on the docket to do it the right way, to grow into paint protection films and ceramic coatings, everything. I mean, it's all coming down the pipeline. I can't say when or how. It's just it's the one thing I can say is Jeff Franson is an extremely smart individual, and he will not do anything that will have too many irons in the fire. So there's a nice, slow, healthy growth. So that's kind of the approach from him. So they'll happen.
I like that a lot, because a lot of the solutions to the problems that people are encountering in their business is the need to simplify. That can solve a lot of problems. Very often, I think people's problems, no matter what they are, if they look through the scope of, am I solving a problem that doesn't need to be solved because I could simplify it and never get to this problem to begin with? So simple product offerings is one of those key factors in avoiding problems.
Yeah, man, we're not going to recreate the wheel here. That's already done. You know what I mean? That's that's completely done. I mean, we have a different objective. We have a different game plan. And I mean, we're just going to execute. And as everybody knows, I mean, we get along with everyone. So it's not like we're going to try to snatch up space or walk on anybody or do any of that stuff. There's people out there that are made for us, and there's people out there that just it won't make sense for, and that's completely okay. I mean,
what's your email address, David?
What's that?
What's your email address?
David@CoolVu.com.
David@CoolVu.com.
Yep, super complicated.
I mean, just in case anybody's interested, like, since you're saying it, so reach out. I don't know if you want to give your phone number out.
Yeah, but I don't care. 910-358-7133. 910-358-7133. David@CoolVu.com or David.Karle@CoolVu.com. I have both of those. Yeah.
Go with the David. You don't do the
reach out to me on Facebook. Reach out to me anywhere you want. Like, just write me a letter. I think that would be really cool. I'll give you my address if you want to write me a letter and put a stamp on it. I'm down with that. That'd be cool.
What do you think's what do you see in the industry outside of like what we're talking about? What do you see, anything that you see kind of coming to the surface that excites you?
Gosh, that's such a loaded question for me, because there's like a few things that always excite me. It's like us going, like, the possibilities of where our industry is going, as far as even just like outside education for consumers. You know what I mean? There's a chance we could end up, I hate saying this, but some kind of television program or this or that. I mean, it's like there's so many amazing things to be excited about. Like, that's not downplayed. That's just, I I'm glad the products are getting easier to use. I'm glad that there's more people opening up training facilities. I'm probably going to do that at some point too, teach auto. I mean, I've always done that. I've always went to people's shop and, trained them how to install cars. And I'm going to start doing that again at my own store so they can come and see what the whole system operates like instead of just, go teach them how to shrink a back window.
And what state is your store in?
Jacksonville, North Carolina. Yeah, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Camp Lejeune, Marine Corps base. That usually rings a bell, near Wilmington. But there's a lot of excitement in that for me too, because again, I like to teach. Like I enjoy teaching people. So there's a lot of feelers of people wanting to come into the industry. I think there's going to come a time when we can simplify things down to. I will say one thing. Kind of you spoke to me the other day. We were in that little conversation we had, and I really think people need to respect mobile tinters a lot more. I'm not saying they didn't before, but it just seemed like they wouldn't consider them like they couldn't be elite. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know what caused that to happen, but I think that's I think that needs to go bye-bye. Because I started thinking about what we were talking about, and this is going to be way off base, okay? So just follow me on this like out and right field conversation. But anything that makes people lazy is a convenience, and they'll spend more money on it. So Uber, DoorDash, all of these conveniences, right? Well, window tinting should be going to people's houses and doing their cars, even though seems like it'd be an inconvenience. We just need to learn how to charge a premium for that. Instead of treating it as the guy that does mobile as, hey, you should charge less because you're mobile. No, bro, you need to be charging more because you're a convenience to a person while they sit there and eat Fruit Loops and watch reruns of Law and Order. You know what I mean? Like total, like it really resonated with me. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that conversation, and it's like, you know what? That is a convenience. That is not should not be seen.
Convenience. And some of the things that mobile window tinters might say sometimes is, I'd love to have a shop because I hate sitting in traffic. I could be tinting cars while I'm sitting in traffic. But there's also times where you have a shop and nobody's coming into your shop, right? And being mobile could have given you a more expansive opportunity to travel somewhere and tint. And, it's like, you're going to maybe there's going to be like, times in traffic, or I arrived at the job and couldn't get it done for some reason, or weather, or, there's all those reasons. But like you said, if you're pricing it accordingly, if you're scheduling your day accordingly, if everything in your business, the other pieces of the puzzle line up, then you're accounting for it, just like you account for the overhead and the no-shows and the things that come with a shop, right?
Yeah. I mean, how is it any different from doing flat glass on someone's house? And then the benefit is that if you go to their house and you sell their car, you need to be trying to sell them to tint their house. Like you're already one foot inside the door.
That would be the cheapest lead ever. I mean, essentially you go to their house and you tint it. And if you didn't upsell them, you go, well, at least I still have the opportunity to maybe tint their house. And once you average that across how many homes you visit,
it's definitely convenience, man. I'm going to run a model on that and really dig into that. And I'll have some better answers for you in the future on that one for sure. So I want to have that conversation like a little bit deeper, and I want to understand it more for sure.
Hell yeah.
Because again, like most of us say, most shops will say, mobile tinter, you don't want to do that, blah, blah. That's not true. That is, I think I'll bring them up. Robert and his wife, Boss Lady, I'd let them tint my car in a second out of Houston. There's no quality drop off from my shop to those two people in Houston, and they're doing it mobile.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you.
I don't really have much else to say on that. It's just that's the hard reality. Like those people are successful and they don't have the burden of overhead. They're free.
And it's, you're right. You don't have the burden of overhead, and you're you're very scalable, right? Because if you're not operating within a building, you don't need a bigger building, you don't need a smaller building. And there's also kind of a added benefit of if you have 3, let's say, auto installers in one garage, hey, they may work like brothers or they may fight like brothers. You never know. And when they're individually servicing a customer in different sides of town, working independently, like they don't need to get along. They don't need to not get along. It doesn't make any difference because they're going to do their job and going home.
Yep. I think the key to that one is how you represent yourself riding through traffic and how you're branded and what that looks like.
And that's the other benefit of being mobile, obviously builds, like, you can have a vehicle wrap and it can be attention getting, and you can do it in a way that really stands out, whether it be the type of vehicle with the wrap or the type of wrap. And before you know it, you're on the way to a job, but you're booking another job at the same time, which you wouldn't necessarily do if you're in a shop, though shops should still have wrapped vehicles and park them out front, park them when they drive, park them in different places. It always helps.
I agree. Yeah, I guess if you were to ask me what I'm excited about my new role because it's a huge challenge, right? So
Yeah.
just know that on a personal level. In the industry, I'm excited about like understanding more about the mobile tinner. So if anybody's watching and sees this and is a mobile tinner, please reach out to me. I've got like 804,000 questions for you that I really want to ask. So, and I'm seriously legit about that. Like I want to understand some things. So
Cool.
please contact me.
David at CoolVu.com. And if you're listening to it and not looking at David, CoolVu is CoolVu.com. Not view. View, not view. Anything else you want to discuss before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I do actually. As everybody wants to discuss, and I know you don't like talking about it, but I want to hear the latest dad moment. We all love the fact that you have a little one in your life now, and we want to know the dad moments, bro, because we care about you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Dad moment's going great. There's a lot of great moments, and my favorite is, like after I leave here now and I go home, when I see him, he'll probably like put his arms out and smile and get all excited. And I've become quite addicted to that in the mornings when I leave the room and I come back in or whatnot. And of course, seeing him, stick his head up a little higher or crawl a little further, or, every little incremental thing. Really enjoying that process.
That's what it's all about, man. I don't know how else to say that, but those are those moments you can't get back. You know what I mean? So awesome for you. Super, super, super happy for you. On behalf of everybody, we probably don't tell you that enough. We're like happy for you.
Thank you. It's definitely like, I definitely, we were talking about how the industry and these events and so on can feel supported. And that's something that I could never put into words how tremendously appreciative I am for the support that I felt throughout the years. Even as Window Tint LA, the support from the manufacturers that we bought from, the support from the people we worked with and so on. And then of course with Tint Wiz, the support from people like Mike Powell and Robert Oman, all the way back to Film Slinger days in 2019, but especially 2020 when we were at WFCT. And from then on, it's just, the support has been tremendous. And I am 1 billion zillion % committed to trying to take that appreciation and support and just put it back into the industry. Because like you said, it's the industry has done so much, like for me personally, for you personally, and for so many we know personally, that it's something that we won't, have to support and take care of and grow and nurture and look after,
Yeah, we have a responsibility. We really do. We may not have wanted the responsibility, but we have it. You know what I mean?
And to Billy Murray's question, if I've been pooped on yet, I haven't. And every time I change a diaper, I always kind of do this little ritual where I let Leonardo know that this is going to be a successful one. Let's do it. And then we celebrate at the end that I didn't get pooped on. So we actually celebrate that I didn't get pooped on. And so far we have 100% success rate. We both are really happy after every time. But
so do you promise to tell us all if it happens?
yeah, no problem. It has to happen. I've been very lucky, tremendously lucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So if there's nothing else you kind of want to get out there, I guess we could wrap it up. It's a little
No, just wanted to,
but
yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who's supported everything that you do and has continued to work towards this unity that we have in the industry. I'm excited to see that continue to grow, and I'm excited to see us get to the other side of the fence now and help us all support each other in these disciplined times now of truly growing companies and running a business correctly. So I think, yeah, thanks to everyone. I mean,
amen.
I could name a million people, Carlos, Dave Dillinger, Dean, you. I mean, I'm so much happier doing this industry now than I was 4 years ago. It's just unreal. Just like what you said. That's just genuine, man. Like, I'm so much happier. Like, knowing that I got a friend on the West Coast, I got a friend here, and I got a friend here, and I can call you at any time. Like, get on the train, people. You're missing out on what it feels like to have a brotherhood
or sisterhood. Looking forward to seeing you and everyone at WFR Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Less than 30 days away.
Yes, August 27th.
What the day is. So it's a little over 30 days away.
Yeah.
And then WFCT after that, which will be Orlando, Florida. And we're really excited about both. So I hope to see as many people there as possible. Really looking forward to seeing you. And
you as well, brother.
Thanks for doing this and catching up. And we will be back next week with Tim Ham. So I'll see you next week and the week after. And then we'll be in Chattanooga, basically.
You want me to say something? Bye-bye, everyone.
No, I wasn't. I just kind of like the ending, like to go like that.
No.
Thank you, David. Thanks for everybody.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I can't wait to see everybody again. Come hang out. Come hang out.
All right. Cool. That's it. We'll wrap this one up and we'll see you next week.